Alright, bro, so here we are, first lesson, learning these C major fingerings. First and foremost, technique stuff. We have my thumb is pinned against, or excuse me, my thumb, needs to be at straight classical position. The way to do that with all of these fingerings, whichever type, is to go boom, 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 the actual starting position thing in parentheses above each fingering. And your temptation is to be like this, where your pinky's just like associated with that fret. But I mean, literally all of them on the bass string, that's going to get you into the position that you said is actually more intuitive for you. And you were doing this, especially when you shifted to the second and first string, which goes back to it used to be hard to push down. So there's going to be some change when you get to the first string, but minimal as opposed to this. And anytime your arm's up here like this, bad stuff happens. So left thumb. It can be this never-ending troubleshooting thing where it fully just goes, you put it here and do stuff. For this specific type of fingering, there's totally context where you will be thumb over top. Cool, so and then we talked about your left elbow position when you're playing down around the first, second, and third fret, wanting that to come along for the ride. That's what's making it all feel so hard to reach up there. Desk chair, training wheels if you wanted. And then we get around the fifth or seventh fret, you're going to feel comfortable and then be across your body. So there's our technique stuff. When you're playing these scales at home, when you're memorizing them, do not play in rhythm until you've already memorized them. It's like step one, you're just going over a course video list. This is the stuff I'm going to do when I actually play this scale in rhythm. So scales are a perfect time to work on technique because we actually have enough conscious brain space to do that stuff. So like we talked about, there's two stages for learning anything. There's memorization and there's planning. When we're memorizing something with one of these fingers, we're consciously focused. Versus then we switch to, okay, I've learned it, and we get into the playing headspace, which is like guessing the feel thing, and we don't ever want to be doing both at once. So yeah, that's going to be our goal, to finish as we go. After we break things into small sections. What I mean is, you're going to get really good at the first finger, which is going to have concepts that come up in the second, fifth, and seventh one with index reaches and stuff, before you even try the second one. And that'll make the second one a lot easier. And then before you move on to the third one, you're going to be like 1 and 2 is kind of like part one. Then you're going to learn the third one. Then you're going to go 1, 2, 3. So you'll be accidentally reinforcing the ones, memorizing the ones that you've already gone over. The opposite of playing through all 7 of them and hoping you get better at it. So we're going to not be looking at the page when we do this stuff, and like I do with everybody at their first lesson, I'm going to look away down at the bottom of the page. I don't mean magically conjure the info, I just mean that the hand movement's going to be what's the same when we switch to other keys and stuff. So we're used to seeing learned musicians looking at a page while they're playing, they're reading music. Tab just says this stuff happened in this order. So yeah, you're 1, 3, 5, 2, look at it only until you can switch to looking at your hands. So at about 3:40 in your video is when we started talking about the actual playing. Oh yeah, and not seesawing. Sorry bro, with the a good way to do that would be do a bunch of stuff with hammer-ons and pull-offs at home. Anything that you normally play, try to add hammer-ons and pull-offs to it. Whatever I pick up a bass and I play stuff is. So yeah, actually about 4 minutes in, we're going to start talking about these 7 C major fingerings, which it just kind of goes, you learn them, use these fingers, and all this extra info I'm giving you, don't look at the page and finish as you go, is just going to make it easier and go by faster. Cool, so, and we learned note names. We learned G and C, A and D, B and E, and then C. And the key step there, we were talking about, was to just turn it into a geography test, where you encountered them out of order, which was the grueling 140 seconds where you actually learned all 6 of those note names cold. So just notice which ones trip you out, and don't ever guess. Go back, it's really easy to train oneself to go G and C, A and D, B and E, but then you only think about E if you've done the whole thing. So anyway, no big deal, you get it. Take it totally out of the context of music and just be This dot's called G. This one, when you're walking in the room, you meet 7 people, you're going to try to remember their names. Assigning names to dots. Cool, so our first one, it says like, alright, this is called fingering number 1, and I'm at the 2nd fret. Boom, 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 boom. And then we had an index reach, so just make sure your elbow's in good position and try to wiggle your index finger. When we're doing these index reach ones, which are going to be the least comfortable ones, you're definitely going to need to be in good thumb position, and maintaining a sense of your middle finger as an anchor is going to be really important. In this one, the good news is like the 3 high strings have no reaches at all, so it's going to just be like yuck, normal, 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 normal. So let's introduce the concept of play and point. You know, C right here and C right here, those are state capitals in every one of these fingerings. So play and point. What I mean is like your brain is going to process there exists this fingering called number 1. If you want to think about that C when you hit it, or go like C in your head or whatever, that's cool. But either way, you want to just immediately point to C on the bass strings. Not every C ever. It's literally going to be this one, and all of them. So yeah, it's like Pavlovian. Just when I play this finger, it makes me think about pointing there. And if you start on this note, it's going to come out of the instrument. So there we go. That's why we're trying to put this into your head. Is like, you know, there's this fingering. It goes like this. That's the state capital of it. There's this next fingering. And there's the note. And if you want, you can start on that note. And here you already be sol la ti do. So the first 2 are both index reach. The next one is comfortable. This is the one that overlaps our pentatonic 1 box. And here's where C is. It's under our pinky. It's no harder to conceptualize than it being under our middle or index finger. Cool, so here's us doing this one. It's just like, and then we actually get to your first pinky reach, which is like that. So, you know, paying attention to your thumb position, it's gonna go like this, and there's our root. Now we have this 1 reach note, and then just 2 notes there. And that reach note, that B right here, that's one I crossed out. Like a lot of the time, you're just gonna leave it out. Because it's what is actually conducive to playing. So this one, the state capital's right there. So you're going, there exists this fingering. And it makes me think about pointing there. If I wanted to play this fingering in A, this is A. But this is stuff I'd be playing in A, it's all the same thing. You know, just, we're used to thinking about these 2 fingers to get our reference point. So index reach, pinky reach. And then the 3rd type is no reaches, where we're at the 7th fret. Back here it was like a bunch of notes and root. It was like some notes and root, 2 notes, root. Now we've arrived at a point where it's just like B, C, so there's just 1 note. And then the subsequent one will actually start with C. So this is an easy one and one we use a lot. It's like 2 of these, 2 of these, boom. There's the root. So that's what I want you to be doing, as opposed to coming back down the patterns after you learn this thing. And it's just like, I do this. It makes me think about pointing there. And relying on thinking about that being C and this being C is not really going to work. You really just want to think about hand movement point, because when we switch to other keys, you won't as readily be able to think about it. And there's where C is. So play and point, play and point. We've got the last 2. Then we have another index reachy one, the one that literally starts with C. Then like leftover notes. The last 2 we didn't do. This one starts with D, so it's like. It's gonna heavily feature pinky reaches. It's just like 1 normal string. Cool. And the very last one, there's where C is. It's a comfortable, and they're reach ones, and there's where the root is. The root, I just mean C. And this is where the instrument starts over. A familiar concept, like 12th fret is where the whole thing recycles from guitar, or not so much. Cool. So the whole instrument starts over at the 12th fret. That's why we have a big landmark there. Interesting. So like, that's me going EF. That's me going EF. So this C here, this C here. And while we're at it, if you were on guitar, you can totally just like play all your shapes up here, and it'll sound like a mandolin, but it's something like to explore. So fully instrument recycles at the 12th fret, and what allows us to do all this stuff while we're able to learn scales, like, you know, learn one scale, and then I'll show you how you actually accidentally know how to play every other scale, is going to be along like our bar chord analogy, where we realize we can play every major and minor chord, just going like here's A, flat, minor. And learning these note names is going to really inform your guitar playing, especially the ones we picked today, because the vast majority of rhythm guitar playing, and guitar playing in general, takes place like below the 7th fret, bar chords and stuff, since we tend to try to stay localized rather than be like here, then there. So yeah, like, you know, G, C, G, C, A, D, A, and D, stuff like that. So yeah, everything that you've ever played probably start to take on a new depth. Anyway, cool, so basically it just goes learn the fingerings, play in point, let this, you know, like totally play out of rhythm. Stage 1, I'm learning to do this, I'm going over a list of things I will do. Stage 2, I'm actually trying to apply it, I'm playing it in rhythm, I play at a point. And then if you want to start coming back down the patterns after you've memorized them, that's cool, but that's the first step, get back down. Usually for most people it's like if you just do it like 3 times more than one would naturally be inclined, and then start coming back down it, it'll be like, okay, no problem, I can do that because I already memorized it. And you're finishing as you go, and, you know, playing really slow and out of rhythm is our goal here, so that you have enough headspace to focus on the technique stuff we're talking about. It's all going to be application from here on. This is by far the least interesting lesson we'll ever do.